So prioritizing, narrowing your focus. You're a generalist. You're going to find it difficult not to do 10 different things. Me too. Finding the balance between goals and relaxing. I feel guilty about relaxing, or you do it in an unhealthy way. Okay, now these are actually all interrelated, but there are multiple questions in here. There's one about prioritizing and narrowing your focus, and there's another one about shame related to relaxing. Which of these do you want us to tackle the most?
Start the prioritizing.
So, I am almost 100% certain, just because I already know you a little bit, but also because of this issue in general, that you don't lack the practical skills to write a list of 1 to 10 and put things in order of priority. Right? And if you do, just YouTube it. There's an answer there for you. Okay. So tell me instead about the belief that stops you acting on those priorities.
I guess for me, it's that as I said, like the generalist thing. So having a hard time being like, okay, I'm going to give up. Maybe I need to give up some of my fitness goals to work on my creative pursuit, or I need to give up dating goals to work on dating and social goals to work on work. And I think honestly, Dan, like I know what are the most important ones. They are the two that I mentioned. Like it's the creative outlet and the work job change. Um, so maybe it's some resistance I have to focusing in on those, and wanting to still keep those other goals because maybe they're a little bit easier, a little more comforting. Going to the gym isn't as hard for me as it is to say force myself to practice the piano for a few hours or something.
Okay. So you're actually comfortable being general. It was interesting the language you used. It was very extremist. I don't want to have to give up this whole area of my life and give up that whole area of my life. Like there couldn't even be some low level maintenance. It's just a
Yeah.
give up. Um, what I hear when somebody uses extreme language like that is the beginning of a narrative to kind of excuse certain behavior.
Hmm.
Like it's unreasonable for me to give up this thing. So my only other option is to keep doing what I'm doing rather than some sort of in between reduction. Um, so what I'm really hearing, and I don't think this is exactly like master coaching to say this, is fear. It's not that you don't know how to prioritize, and it's not that you don't know where to focus, and it's not that you lack the capability of finding a balance by deciding how much volume you're going to put on each area of your life. This isn't a how-to problem. This is just a fear about actually going through with it. What's going to go wrong if you go through with it? What are you afraid of?
I think I think the biggest one is the work change, right? I know we talked earlier this week a bit about that one. The fear of leaving the unknown, the comfort, the steady paycheck, the fear of doing something radically different. And I think too, like the fear of just admitting what I want has been a hard thing for me, obviously, right? Like subjugating my wants and needs. So maybe for me to actually say, no, this is what I fucking want and I'm going to do it. Um, maybe feels pretty foreign to me.
One thing I hear is like when I hear you talk about it, my empathy makes me feel overwhelmed. Like you're asking for some sort of lifetime commitment. What if you were to prioritize in the way you know you need to for just 1 week?
Hmm.
No
Yeah,
obligation
already
to
that
go
feels
beyond
like
that week.
a relief.
Say again?
That already feels like a relief. Yeah, because I plan my goals out for like a quarter, right? About something like that. So
That's what I'm hearing is because you're a high achiever, I think. And people I think they confuse going all in on something, like really going for it with some sort of longevity. So I'm all in for life. This is where I think the fear of commitment happens in relationships. Is you're like, I can't settle down with this one person because then it's forever. It usually actually comes from a fear of quitting or ending things. If you don't believe you have the strength to end something, you're scared to get into it because then you're stuck in it, especially with relationships, people who don't know how to break up with people. They're like, I don't want to start because what if I don't like them? Then I'm stuffed, you know? Yeah, so Ian's on that one. But mostly, if you felt relief just thinking about turning this into a 1 week exercise rather than a lifetime exercise, this tells me you're just suffering from what I call the Everest effect. You're turning a small experiment into climbing Mount Everest. When you don't even need to go all the way to base camp. You only need to take a few steps to see if you like it. And if you do, you keep doing it. And if you don't, you stop. And you're allowed to stop. Why do you put pressure on yourself to do some sort of massive commitment for a long time?
I don't even have an answer off the cuff for that one. I really don't know. I need to chew on that one more. I don't even know.
I'd suggest you have a fear of committing to something and turning out you're wrong about it. That it's this weird, real, just paradoxical thing that a lot of us do is I have to be right about something before I've tried it. It doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
You know, I remember that when I was going to start my coaching business, I was kind of scared to tell people because I'm like, what if I go for like a year and it turns out I suck at coaching and this was pointless? Like having to face those people go, yeah, it didn't work out. For some reason that was really horrifying to me, and yet, what the fuck, who cares? I tried something, it didn't work, so I'll try something else. I want you to give yourself permission to try and quit rather than to dedicate for life.
All right.
Just play with it for a week. Do you really actually have any specific practical questions about how to prioritize, or do you actually know how to do that?
No, absolutely not. Not absolutely not, but no, it was more that. It's the psychology behind it.
It actually relates also to what Ian was saying before. The secret to courage is not strength, it's intelligence, it's wisdom. You outsmart fear. Fear makes it overwhelming, you make it little. Right? Same applies to Ian. It's not like I have to repair things with my father. It's no, you pick up the phone, you dial, and you say we need to talk. That's it. You can actually hang up after that if you like. It's fine. Breaking things down to little bits, you go, okay, I'm too scared, break it down. Still too scared, break down. Almost there, break it down. That I can do. Okay, so that's what you do then. And the key is to go, look, this isn't a trick where I'm actually going to do the whole massive thing. I really am allowed to quit after that small bit. You know? And then after the small bit, you reassess. Can I do another week? Do I want to adjust this in some way? But you never go, okay, I did a week, so now I commit for life. You never do the big thing. You never need to. You think you can handle that?
Yeah.
Good. We may come back to you about the shame about relaxing, because I think a lot of people will resonate with that. Okay, I just want to have a scroll down.
Sure.
Christian. Let's mute you again, Vince. So there you go. Unmute. There you go.
Yeah, I'm writing I was writing I just sent it.
Oh, okay. You're typing away. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just give a quick read.
I'll give you more background.
Well, let's start from the end. What's the question you're trying to answer?
I think I'm looking more for mentorship here. The background of the story is that I've been living a life that I'm not happy about. I think sometimes it's meaningless. And I've gotten to the end of the to the ladder, I would say, and not just in terms of my career and my profession, but in life in general. And I realized I fucked up many times over the last 15 years, and I'm starting again. Life is starting again with the previous experiences, of course, with the background, with the mistakes and the things that I've also done right as well. But there's a key area in my life that's kind of affecting everything, which is if you're not, I think as a man, you're not in the right path and your mission. It has led to, career instability, which has led to financial stability, which has led to, interpreting these results as you cannot lie to yourself when you look at your results. So I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself because it's do or die. Basically, I cannot afford to keep on living this life, the one that I was living until now. And then, sort of because I have very low savings at the moment, it's like, I feel the pressure of having to change, but also you have to change in 3 months or 6 months. And it makes it difficult to start life again at my age and kind of shift. So that's where I'm at. And that's why I sent you an email about reinventing yourself after fucking up, after living life in a way that's not leading anywhere, or it's meaningless.
Yeah, I think I've got a bit of a theory. If your life keeps spitting you out, you're probably doing the wrong thing, But that doesn't mean that you're wrong as a person. Just because you're walking in the wrong direction doesn't mean you're a bad person. You also, what I hear is the shame about your past. I've heard this from a lot of people before as well. This idea that, at this stage in my life, I should be X, Y, and Z. And that, it's old to, I'm old to start over, this kind of comments. One of the things to understand from a philosophical perspective is we start over every second. We start over every day. When we actually decide to turn that into a massive change of behavior is up to us. But the past, it's in our memory and our imagination, but it doesn't actually exist. You can't show it to me on a plate. There is no physical manifestation of the past. You're a clean slate every fucking second if you want to be. There's no ties where your past has to make sense or it has to lead to the next thing, or you'd like that better of like make something out of this. And in fact, that's quite dangerous thinking if you need to reinvent. If everything you've done up till now doesn't count towards the mission, you got to ditch it. That being said, it all counts. If nothing else, you've learned what not to do. Yeah. And as ridiculous as that sounds, that's actually very vital information. You're in a somewhat advantageous position, which is you didn't find something that was comfortable enough to get stuck in. Now, as much pain as you might be in with your current situation, it is worse, in my opinion, to be just a few levels up the comfort meter and still have no mission. But at least be able to talk yourself into doing it for another day, another week, another month, because it feels okay. You're in the position where like, it won't even let me do that. I have to do something different. Now, I think you have already had one of the key insights, which is because you don't have a clear mission, clear direction you're trying to go in, your decisions are directionless. You're kind of guessing. Or from what I heard from what you're saying, I think finances are making a lot of your decisions for you to some extent. I think you're at risk that that's about to happen again. You're already talking about, my savings has run out. What I think is, straight away off the top of my head, two things need to happen simultaneously. One is a very practical thing, getting the minimum income you need to survive sorted.
Mm.
I don't care if you work at McDonald's. I don't care if you pick strawberries. I don't care if you're a telemarketer. As long as you can go, okay, I'm not going to die in the next week of starvation. It's important that that's as little amount of work as you can find. Okay.
Mm.
The fewest possible hours to pay your bills.
Mm.
Because you're going to need the rest of the time to figure out who the fuck you are.
Mm.
Rather than a half-assed or sort of half in, half out, where you try to sort of get a job that's kind of part of the mission and provides for your income, I think you're better off having a job that you know is only for income and there's no meaning in it, so
Yeah,
that you can breathe.
I'm working on that. Yeah, that's I'm looking for part-time cash flow jobs at the moment. It's not easy, but I'm working on that, and I think you're right. Like having a sort of income to pay your bills, the rent, food, all those expenses. It's right. Yeah. And then use the rest of my time to actually work on my mission, which I've reworded and rethought about. Yeah.
As briefly as you can, tell me, where are you currently at in terms of how you would express your mission, what you understand it to be?
Well, I went deep. And because I wasn't, up until a few months ago, I wasn't clear about my vision, and the results in my life were an evidence of that. So I went deep, and I created this whole PowerPoint of a life plan, basically for the next 2 to 3 years, and where do I want to be in 2 to 3 years from now. And it was purpose, mission, vision, core values, behavioral values, and then from then I created these goals, 2 to 3 years long from now on, and then started kind of divided life into 5 or 6 areas and said, okay, where's my life? I did the life wheel thing. And
Okay, hold on just a second.
career, yeah. So I broke it down. Yeah.
Straight away, I think I can see a problem in it. It sounds very, very academic.
Yeah. I mean,
Now, I'm not saying that any of those exercises you're doing are wrong, but I think if what you were doing or the way you're approaching this was working for you, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Something's not right about this. And I actually, this is what I love about running a group like this is I already know all of you a little bit, some of you a lot. I know your tendencies and your history. And what I know about you is a tendency to over-intellectualize things and to actually lose sight of like what you feel like doing. You know, and it's something a lot of us, especially us nice guys, have in common. We use rationality as a coping mechanism for emotional struggles. We end up turning everything into an equation that needs to be solved. It gives us a sense of peace and control. But the problem is it has no emotional guidance, which means we can really do well at solving problems that we don't give a fuck about deep down. You know, a lot of like a classic nice guy trait is to get into jobs that they're good at doing just because they're good at doing them and they excel, but they hate them.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, I want to tell you that in my head, in my mind, having a career in international trade for nearly 14 years now made a lot of sense. That's where the first job I had was in that space. And then my mind kept saying, but man, you've done a lot of work for international companies. You know the Asian markets. You're talented. You're multilingual. You know this industry and blah, blah, blah. And I kept on doing it year after year because it made sense logically. But I was not, and I was having disappointments along the way, and I kept on doing it. And after 4 jobs where I've been fired before the 6 months mark now, the last 4 jobs, my logic doesn't make sense. It's just, now I'm, as you say, I was not connected with what I'm feeling. And I think in the last few months, I've been more connected to them. That's why I decided to quit. Like, I'm not looking for jobs in that space. But yes, as you mentioned, it's like logic takes over, and it's sort of a coping mechanism, a protective mechanism to not deal with something that's emotional.
We are not going to figure out your mission in this conversation. What I would rather, or what I think is more important, is identifying the barrier you have, which is essentially you think your mission is some complex academic 2 to 3 year goal setting plan, which is what I went through before I figured out my one. You know, in the end, there was only one question I needed to ask to figure out my one, which is, what makes me angry? And it was a very deep question. It wasn't like, oh, fucking, there's breadcrumbs in the toaster again. It's like, when I look out in the world and go, if I could push a button and just fix this one fucking thing, what would it be? And it wasn't about a 2-year plan, and it wasn't goal setting. It was, what do I feel the most strongly about? And that started to manifest into different ideas, like, what kind of person is missing in the world? And because of that, this problem flourishes. What kind of person would I need to be to resolve that problem, at least for my own satisfaction? How do other people feel about the problem? How does it impact them? Now, obviously, it's pretty clear where I ended up with that whole confidence building, nice guy thing. But what I eventually came to is that I have this enemy. This enemy is low self-confidence. It ruined the first part of my life. It ruins everybody else's life. It leads to all the things you see that suck in the world: war and greed and fucked up relationships and violence and crime, all of them related to low self-confidence. In fact, I didn't really realize that until I worked with criminals. And I was like, man, all these motherfuckers have really low self-worth. Like, all of them, except for the psychopaths. You know? I was like, huh. And when we help them build their self-worth, they stop hurting other people. It's like basic cause and effect. It wasn't even like anything else we needed to do with them. I was like, holy shit, this low self-confidence thing is awful. Is it really responsible for every shitty thing that every human being's ever done? Because it might be. And what I do know is, personally, it's responsible for 99% of the pain I've experienced in my life. So my enemy was very clear. Low self-confidence. You know? I want you not to answer this now. Okay? I don't want you, and I certainly don't want an academic answer. But emotionally, who's your enemy? Who do you want to fight? And I don't mean a person, but a concept, perhaps, or an event, a recurring thing. Look at your own life. What pisses you off the most about your past?
Yeah, and you're right. That's the right question to those questions. I sort of raised similar questions, and I've got into 2 missions, actually. And I have to decide, prioritize.
What I'd say is, hesitate on turning them into a 2 to 3 year plan. I'm going to send you a podcast that might help with this, which is, rather than trying to turn a purpose into, or a sense of purpose into a purpose, this thing that must be accomplished in your life, I want you to be able to define this down to a day-by-day way of living, where you don't build up to it. It doesn't happen in 2 years or 5 years or after 16 goals are achieved. You can do it right here, right now, in any situation. You can live by it. You know, I tackle my low self-confidence by trying to learn how to do handstands because I'm scared of them, or by coaching someone, or by eating something healthy instead of resorting to binging on chocolate, which I failed at today, by the way. Or confronting my girlfriend instead of saying the easy thing that she wants me to hear. Whatever. I'm constantly in a battle with this fucking thing. With that urge for the easy way out, with that desire to be liked, all those low self-confidence markers. I'm just like, who's the next one to punch in the face, with honesty or with courage or whatever. Now, this is something I've obviously developed over almost 10 years. But in the end, it's just this thing I'm angry at. That's how simple my mission became. Now, I'm not saying that's what's going to work for you, but what I am saying is an academic, step-by-step blueprint, solve this like a mathematical equation thing, is probably not working for you. Okay. The reason I actually bring up anger specifically, there's lots of other emotions that will help you find a purpose in life. But the reason I bring up anger is because us nice guys struggle with anger probably more than any other emotion, except maybe embarrassment. But anger is a real common theme. Nice guys really are fucked up about anger. And because of that, we don't know how to translate anger into passion. First, we have to get right with anger, and then we can go, how do we turn this powerful force into a weapon that does good things?
Yeah. Just to close, this logical mind says, well, if you've been living life in X way till now and you see this result and it hasn't worked, it makes sense to kind of now start behaving, I won't say in the opposite way, but totally differently. And that's, I got fed up I got myself to this point now. So I'm reacting and trying new things and exposing myself more, risking more, and getting out of that comfort zone that was has led me to this point.
My old coach said this to me as one of the most powerful things I've ever heard when I was stuck in something. He said, what got you here won't get you there. And it was just about giving myself permission to break all the rules that I'd been following, even rules that had helped me be successful by an old standard, to then counter those and do the opposite.
Yep.
Being unemotional and logical helped me with my career. It even got me into leadership positions. And then one day it stopped working because I was already here and I needed to go there. And I switched. I switched to letting people see my stress, and I switched to all these other things I'd never done before that broke all the rules, that every part of my brain was going, don't fucking do it, it's wrong. This is funny. One of the biggest epiphanies I've ever had is the stupidest fucking cause of it. I was watching the 40-Year-Old Virgin, that movie, and there's a bit where he's reluctant to go and, he's go and hit on the drunk girl or whatever. He's like, it's wrong. And the other guy goes, well, what's right for you hasn't worked. You need to try some wrong.
Yeah.
And there was a stupid context in the movie. He's talking about like trying to hit on a real drunk girl. But in my mind, I was like, I've been trying to be nice all my life, doing everything right by that rule book. It doesn't work. So what's wrong look like? And it was the opposite, and it was clumsy, and bits of that weren't quite right either. But it just shattered my rule book and gave me other options. In your world, I think being emotional is in the wrong category, and you need to try some wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Actually, guys, I wanted to keep this to an hour, and we've just gone over. But fear not, anybody I didn't get to this time will be prioritized next time. I'm going to do at least 2 more of these before I decide where this is going. So Henry, I saw you just popped in there. I'll put you first place, pole position next time, if that's cool. Thank you guys for coming along, and feel free to shoot me some feedback afterwards as to how this was for you and what you thought of it. It's kind of a new thing I'm playing with. You're actually my guinea pigs in a sense. I wanted to see if working in this way is enjoyable and beneficial to people, because it's quite different obviously to the like deep dive one-to-one stuff. And if you guys enjoyed it, I will be back here next week, same time, same channel.
Did you enjoy it?
I did, yeah. But then this is real ego stroke stuff where I get to talk and so I might not be enjoying it for the healthiest of reasons necessarily. That's why I want you guys' feedback. But if it helps people, then it's win-win.
All right, thanks.
Recording will be made available just to you guys and the other people on the client list, so this won't be public in any way. And I will see you all next time.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah.
Take care,
thanks
guys.
a lot.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Dan.
guys.
Bye,
Much
guys.
appreciated. Cheers.